Good evening. I really appreciate the opportunity to first learn and also share some experiences in the field. As Matt said, we are BCGX in the Tech Build Design Unit of BCG. So I'm a builder at heart, a multidisciplinary background, mechanical engineer, industrial designer, and then went to business school. A few years ago, we started BCG Green Ventures as part of the digital ventures team because we realized climate tech and building businesses and solutions for climate tech is a bit different than digital. And along the way, having built and accelerated 40 businesses, I wanted to share some experiences learned in the field. Oftentimes, I have people come in and say, hey, how do I get involved in climate tech? Like, this is all about molecules, it's all chemistry, I don't understand, I'm a coder at heart. And then folks on the AI side who say, I really want to do something, but this is already digital, and I don't understand what climate tech is all about. So how do I get involved? And I thought, having spoken now with corporates and building businesses with them, as well as startups and other institutions like Elemental Accelerator and Greentown, this is a super interesting space. I believe this is the next frontier. And I've broken this down into the ABCDEFs of climate tech and AI. So let me start with the A. I think this is about abatement and adaptation. Your existing business or corporations that have businesses, they have emissions. How do you reduce your emission scope? How do you abate those using technologies is super interesting. And then you need to adapt those businesses. So let me give you an example. You think about 80 to 90% of the shipping that happens still happens through big containers or crude vessels. A very large crude container called VLCC consumes about 50 to 100 metric tons of bunker fuel a day. 50 to 100 metric tons of bunker fuel a day. We talk about trying to now decarbonize such operations for one vessel. Usually is done after the vessel and the voyage is over. But every time you have a different route, a different speed, a different environment, a different chief engineer and pilot who thinks you have to steer things a certain way. We deployed AI and edge computing along with industrial IoT sensors on the IC engine. And now instead of doing Excel sheet monitoring and calculations, you can now get 1.5 million parameters. So it's AI recommended ways, but it's human-driven decision making that now helps decarbonize that operation. And again, this is one vessel. Imagine an entire fleet for a company, and then you multiply this across all the ships in the globe. I think AI had a true potential of really envisioning new things which humans could not comprehend, but now has really built a leap forward. So that's abatement and adaptation. Then you have the B, which is about building resiliency in your business, in your operations, in your government. We did this for vegetation management. Imagine a utility that has to go and trim trees across your neighborhood. You have 55,000 line miles. How do you know which trees to abate? And it's usually done in a 5-year cycle. It's like, oh, we're going to go through these routes and we're going to cut these trees. But guess what? Trees grow at a different rate. So you need to now use satellite and AI to really figure out what is the right deployment of resources, which are the ones which are really critical if they fall. And God forbid there's an aftermath, a cyclone, you have trees coming down, contractors charge 3x the cost. So this is not just a climate incentive to make things better, it's actual real profit and operational expense. So how do you make things more resilient is like the second bucket. C is for crafting new products, services, and experiences. We learned a lot about it, and people spoke about how we're using AI for material innovation. I call it AI alchemists. You can now really envision new things. Autodesk and others have been doing this for years around generative AI and imagining better products and how do you now reduce even packaging in better lean ways. So crafting these new products, enabled by AI. They don't have to be necessarily embedded with AI in it, but enabled by AI helps envision new possibilities. I think D is about really developing and accelerating the enablers of climate transition. So climate finance, policy, education, these are super important. And most of the times the data stay within the company and most of them still within the sector. There hardly has been much cross-sector collaboration. My 10-year-old son comes and keeps asking me, hey, what are things I can do? And they are learning things in education, but how do you now educate the next generation of people around climate sustainability is a big task at hand. So I think that's an important area around accelerating these enablers for climate tech. E is about envisioning new businesses. not only the businesses you are today, but what's the business you will be in 5 years out, 10 years out. This is extremely important. Some companies won't even have the license to operate because they are in the energy space and in sectors which they shouldn't have been doing. But if you can envision 5 years out, 10 years out, even 20 years out, what companies can be in, you can backcast from there on and create resilient businesses. And there's tons of examples of how we're helping companies do that. And then lastly, the F, I think, is all about fostering the human behavior change and the human potential to envision possibilities. You know, if you can bring all the best AI in the world and we can all sit here and you think climate change is going to happen? No. The algorithms and technology, as we say, is only the 10%, the 20%, but the behavior change is the 70%, you know, the hard work that has to be done. So really helping enable that and unleashing the human potential and what these possibilities are, I think that's where the greatest leap is going to happen. So again, I'll just reiterate, A is about, you know, abatement, adaptation. B is really about building resiliency in businesses and operations. C is crafting new products and services and experiences. D is about developing the accelerators of climate change. E is about ensuring that we are able to envision new businesses. And lastly, fostering the human potential and behavior change. I think these are the key buckets in which climate change can happen, and AI can play an important role. I think you all play an even important role as humans, so let's go and celebrate and move the needle forward. Thank you.
Thank you.